Let's get together to co-create a breakthrough for freedom of energy, sustenance, healing, and regeneration of the human vessel. Welcome to FESIG, the Free Energy Special Interest Group, where science meets spirituality in the quest for truth and knowledge to free humanity and transform this planet into a paradise.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Physics 85th meeting, the second session. We had just finished the first session, so I will be sharing screen right now to show our agenda for today's meeting. Welcome to Physics, the Free Energy Special Interest Group, and this is the 3rd of February, where we are holding our 85th FESIG meeting. And you know where to find us. FESIG is truevisionpeace.com/FESIG, FESIG.html. So today's agenda is, which I got to show earlier on in first session, so I'm showing it here now. We had returning speaker Carrie Cassidy speaking the first session. Please be sure to go into our YouTube channel, Physics YouTube channel. Click on that video to watch it once it's up, okay? And she was here on January 2019, and she has given a lot of current information at that time, and today she had done so as well. And then we have, wow, you know, we have full attendance. We couldn't even take more than 100 participants in the room when Carrie was speaking earlier. So the second session, we have Susann Borjlund, who will be talking about universal laws and principles and how many people are waking up now from the oppressive society and its fear and the law of physics, including the law concerning technology as well. So once she has finished giving a presentation, then we have a Q&A session, and then the meeting will then adjourn to the 86th FESIG meeting on the 3rd of March 2021, where Dan Winter and John Fanuzzi will be talking about PHI, the fifth D portal, the portal to the ascension age of Aquarius. And then we have Dr. Ludmila and Boris Dragin talking about wave genetics. If you're talking about the holographic cellular regeneration midbits, that our dear star sister Donna Busey has got a huge big group on Facebook about that, you should be attending this meeting on the 3rd of March, because Dr. Ludmila and Boris will be exploring how they can regenerate cells from the DNA makeup of the body. When you're young, they collect it and then they use that as a genetic blueprint to regenerate cells. It's very fascinating, very interesting, kind of like off-planet technology that they have already been putting into practice. So we got 4 people speaking in the next session. So folks, do turn up, okay? All right, so I'm gonna start straight away to introduce our speaker, our beautiful, wonderful star sister, Susann Borjlund. She will talk about universal laws and principles and how many people are waking up now from the oppressive society, which I mentioned earlier, and the laws of physics, including law concerning technology. Right, so when I ask our dear sister Susann, Stasis, Susann, she says, about her bio, she says, I come to this life to help. I don't have any memory loss. I was presented with what would take place on Earth, so I chose to come here. I don't experience death or being born, only wandering from one place to the next. The purpose of the mission on Earth is to help humans reconnect back to themselves, back to Source God that they disconnected from. I came here to stay for the transformation when humans go from the current state to their higher state. It is a great event that will take place for everyone on Earth, and many have come here in these times to see it and experience it. The final stage of that process will turn the outer outside darker and darker, as you are experiencing now, while the light also becomes equally strong. Notice in how many people are waking up now from the oppressive society in its sphere. When the outside is completely dark and the light is completely separated from the dark, the process is over and light ascend. All right, thank you so much. Our star says, Susann, now you can take over the microphone. Over to you. Thank you.
Okay, so I just begin. I have a presentation.
Doing that, I just wanted to say that the first session meeting, Carrie Cassidy, was co-chaired by James Rink, the interviewer extraordinaire, and it was really good. And James Rink was co-chairing with me, and over here we have Pontus Hassbjer co-chairing with me for Susann's presentation, while our bro Fres is in the background helping out whenever. Okay, thank you. Bye. Go ahead, Susann.
No, I'm gonna ask for help. Do you know how to? I didn't know what to name this. I just call it another side of the story. I was given some ideas of the crowd on this channel, and I heard there's a lot about technical stuff and a lot about the technology behind free energy. So I would just give my perspective. And some of the topics I will be talking about today is coming to Earth. And now I'm also gonna see my slides when I have the picture of everyone here on the right. Well, anyway, I will just try to read out as much as I see. So I will discuss why this world is an illusion, why we're not perceiving reality as it is. I will discuss what you will see happening in your world in the years to come. I will go through some basic laws of physics, as I heard will be interesting in this crowd, and also law concerning technology. So I will begin with my story, which starts with me coming to Earth. And yes, as I explained, I don't have memories of dying or being born. I just have memories of going from one place to another. And I know that differentiates me from, I guess, most people here, because I understand it is unusual. But for me, I was on a ship. I've done many, many missions before that. And I was presented with Earth. And I was told the basic line about what will happen, which is not that much information when you're looking from above. I was basically seeing that it will be a huge transformation when people will be led from one state of consciousness to another. And I got the sense of it, so I decided I wanted this mission. So I went down. And what happens when you go to a place, you don't go to like a planet. It's not like you land somewhere and you shapeshift or something. It's like you go down to a specific dimension and your consciousness is transported into the form you will take there. So I just remember some usual like memory loss, because as soon as I get, when the physical brain is apt, like it is here on Earth, around, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, then I fully come here and I download the whole mission, so I will understand what will happen here. Because I have memories of other missions when I also forgot, when you came to places where it was too dense. So I remember coming here, and as soon as I could talk, I started to talk with people, obviously, and just get on with my mission here. So the first thing that just got to me is how, I guess, the bad the state was on Earth, because I thought I would just come here and fix whatever thing was like needed to be fixed, and then I could return home. I felt like it would be like a coffee break. I just finish it and then I go home. But I understood that this would not be the case here. So when I first came here, I got a map on how everything would look. I saw everything was green. I saw the nature. And then I looked outside and I noticed this is not how this place looks. It's this asphalt, it's these buildings. And for me, it occurred very rare because it's not natural. So I deeply responded to that. And I responded to doors being locked, and I didn't understand. And I didn't understand why people didn't understand anything. So the basic of the mission was to reconnect humans back to God. When I looked at nature, it was healed, it was in harmony. I looked at the animals, it was healed and it was in harmony, but humans were not in harmony. And when I viewed like how humans looked, I was in shock, because for me, they almost looked like something out of a horror movie, because you could see the dissonance, something wasn't right. So when I first looked at them, I asked, what has happened to them? And then the mission told me, yeah, well, they are disconnected from God, like from themselves. And I didn't understand how that could be possible. And I say, what does that mean? They don't know who they are? No, exactly, they don't know who they are. And I was like, man, how are you gonna help them if they don't know who they are? I mean, I thought that like a mission that someone called us for help. So there would be like a certain concern on this place and we would help out with that. But now the aid that was needed was to actually reconnect people back to themselves. They will not know who they are. They will not know where they're from, and they will not know the purpose of being here. And so the next question was, okay, which resources do I have to fix this? Because for me, that seemed like a huge job, because it was not one person here. No, it was like everyone. Like they said, no, Susann, no one will remember anything. And it was like, are you kidding with me? And I wonder, where's my team? And they said, it will not work like this on this place. They will be spread on the earth and they will sort of like wake up later and then they will start to gather. And I was like, great. Okay, so where are my tools? Well, that is not allowed here. And I was like, okay, so what am I doing here? I wasn't accustomed to this body. I didn't comprehend why it was growing. I couldn't comprehend concepts here, like the body is aging and dying, or people falling asleep. I didn't understand this. This was completely crazy talk. And they said, well, you just have to talk with people. And when you do, make sure that the fog that is keeping them away from themselves will lift. And as soon as they get a glimpse of themselves, they will go the walk themselves. So there was a lot of things I tried to comprehend there. I tried to comprehend time, language, money, people's relationships to each other, because none of the things here are normal, so to speak. For first of all, there is a duality going on here, which means that you are awake and then you are asleep. And no one here thought that was strange. And I was trying to explain how extremely strange that is. But then there were other splits here, like you have a conscious you and an unconscious you, you have day and night, you have life and death. And people are trying to convince me, well, Susann, death is a part of life. And I was like, no, life is life. Death would be the opposite of it, because you try to tell me that something can cease to exist, but everything goes round. There is no such thing as ceasing to exist. Everything is always something, is always. You can't even imagine what it is to not exist. So they were so accustomed with this duality. So the biggest problem that exists here is only for humans to reconnect themselves back to themselves. That's like the only thing any helper here came to teach people. They have forgotten who they are. Like any teacher that comes to Earth, like we don't come with a lot of resources from up there. Here, get more of this, this, and this, and you will be fine. Because that's not the problem here. The problem is that humans have disconnected. And the only way to fix that problem is to try to teach people so that they will actually remember who they are and connect back to themselves. And there is a lot of problems with this, because most humans, they don't feel that anymore. They are so divorced from themselves that they're not seeing reality anymore. They see shadows, and therefore they become lost. So then the mission is not about fixing the outer world, because the outer world will be in balance and harmony as soon as humans are connected back to themselves. And right now, Earth will go through this process where light will be separated from darkness. This is a very important time. This is the end of a cycle, as many of you already heard. So I came here to go through this transmission from this separation phase. And after that, I will go back to where I came from. So what will happen now is what you're seeing on the outside is the process of light separating from darkness. So what does that mean? Well, before, light was immersed with darkness. You have free will here. You can do whatever you like. And there weren't that many consequences. You could still use light, even if you were doing like bad ego stuff. It didn't matter. But you can't do it anymore. So now everyone will show their true colors, which means that those who have an evil intent or are not intended to follow the light, those who have a more evil intent, from them, the light will withdraw. And for those who have a good intent, for them, light will increase. So what happens now is a natural process where light is separated from darkness, and you can actually view it on the outside. This is what is so good with this. You can view it on the outside. I usually make the example of the movies and the entertainment. Like the movies from the 80s were still full of light, hope, and creativity and beauty. But then something happens. So when the further you come into the year 2000 and forward, this thing starts to die off. Suddenly there is more special effects. There is not clear love. There is diffusion, it's chaotic, it's disturbing, it's even satanic. What is going on? Is this intentionally, as some people might say? No, it's actually not intentionally, because everyone wants to be happy, believe it or not. Even the bad guys wants to be happy. But if you are not following the laws of the light, light will be taken away from you. So if you remove light from something, what is left is death, nothing. The reason why you see all this robotic agenda going on the outside, this has happened in many places before, because you can't even exist within a biological body, because a biological body is life. But if you remove life from someone who is misusing it, mistreating it, they have no other option than continue living in technology, which of course doesn't work and it always fails. So this is still the only idea that comes up. And if you live in a robotic entity, so to speak, you don't have to follow any laws, right? You don't have to listen to morals or anything. You just can have free will without consequences. But you live outside of life, and eventually, of course, you die. You don't have any life. You must steal life. You must steal electricity in order to have any sort of life at all, which, of course, is not allowed. So this, what you see on the outside is really, well, it's the losing side. It's those who doesn't understand that the only way to live is to have light and to be alive. And if you try to convince yourself there is any other way, you will only get self-destructive. And that's what we're seeing. So this process is actually over when the light is completely separated from the darkness. And this is part of the human test. So eventually the whole outside will go completely dark. You will see no creativity, no love, nothing that ever is about life. And when this process is over, then the humans that have waken up will ascend. So you can observe this process to its very end. So what you're going to witness is the outside will grow darker and darker, and at the same time it's going dark, more and more people will wake up. So when I came here to Earth, they tried to give me a picture about how this would look. So when I came here, I felt I was coming to an already like nightmarish state. I didn't feel this was any real place at all. And they said, well, this is nothing, it's gonna get worse. And I said, there's no way it can be worse. I came here in the 80s, but they said, yeah, it will be worse. And they appointed about 2010, they said, from there on, it will go increasingly dark on the outside. And I couldn't really comprehend, like, how is that going to show? But of course, now I do understand very well. And at the same time, the light will start growing from within. And I said, okay, yeah, the darker it is outside, the more light will be from within. And then it will go completely dark outside. The light will be completed also within. And then it will be only light. So as I point here to this presentation, nobody desires to look like this, but if you don't live according to light, you lose it. And I can't point it out enough that the so-called bad guys don't want to be the mean people or anything. It's just they have no idea how to live anymore, because you lose that ability if you don't follow the light. So what then is the expressions of the darkness in contrast to the light? Well, light is everything that keeps you healthy. If you think about your body, how does it feel when it is in harmony? How do you feel when you are happy and in love and in harmonic resonance with yourself? And you also, when you have light, you also have knowledge. So anytime when you are expressing the opposite of these traits, that means that you're already losing some light. So here we see words like separation, pettiness, fear, and even paranoia. And all of these are things you're going to be seeing on the outside as well. It's not going to be the working out of a great plan. I'm sure you've seen people driving in cars with face masks on, and that is not any logical conclusion, even if you would be scared of this so-called virus. It's paranoia, and that's what happens. So light will be attracted to light. So for everyone waking up now, it's not going to be going to any certain belief, faith, or believe in a certain theory about another. It's not about that. It's going to be two sides. Those who are waking up is losing the ego structure and is going more and more into light, which is more of cooperation, love, harmony, happiness, loving to feel safe and laughter and all of this. Whereas those who are not waking up, they will go more into the fear-based state. And you've probably seen, if you're trying to talk to people about what's going on, you try to talk about people, how you are feeling about things. And if you try to talk with someone who has not gotten it, who's still stuck in the outer society, who watch the news and believe them, they are going to react to you in very weird ways, not logical ways. They're gonna act to you like you were the one who's wearing the plague. That's where people feel. Like, I think it's very fun now, actually, because people are finally showing their true colors. Before, when you spoke to someone who wasn't ready to hear certain things, they would be scared. They would try to avoid you, maybe even attack you in some way because they were scared. But now they're literally jumping in the streets if you go too close to them because you might be carrying this COVID, right? So now it's actually very funny because now they're physically demonstrating how awkward or how scared they are for the light. So to make it very simple, just take a piece of paper and you write everything you think is positive and happy. And then you write the opposite on the other side, and you're gonna find that people who has chosen to follow the society and deny themselves, they will express exactly the opposite, and they will be unable to express any of the positive things that you have written on your list. So you're gonna see things like attack, fear, panic, censure, I can't even speak. Censorship is like covering your ears because you don't want to hear it. Oppression or force, making fun of, apathetic, shut off, or asleep are all these expressions you can see from people who are not waking up. So, apart from that, going back to my experience on Earth, which might help you understand a bit about what this place is. So, what I really reacted to when I came here was the great limitations. Here you can't have contact with anyone. It's like you're completely shut off. I try to create my normal, I guess, portals, people would call it here. I try to make like some kind of gateway, some kind of means of communication. Imagine that all your phone lines were shut and internet was down. That is how I felt when I came here. And I was like, you gotta be kidding. And I was asking people, do you at least have like, I don't know, a central station here when you can contact the rest of the place? Do you have that? But they had nothing. And then, of course, I was introduced to this go to sleep at night. And I was like, what is that? And I just went, okay, this is weird, some weird ritual that they have going. So I just looked in a mirror and I said, okay, this is actually where they travel away from here. It's when they go to sleep, because then you move outside of your limitations, because here people use a tiny, tiny part of their mind. Therefore, they can't perceive anything here. When you sleep, you jump outside of that. So I just went home and I went traveling, and then I went back to bed in the morning, still trying to create my portals, realizing it wasn't possible from here. And as I learned from my team, no, it's not allowed. So that was great news. So let me explain something more about your reality here and how you perceive it. As I said, why this world feels very physical. I understand that. It feels very real. And especially if you don't remember anything else, I guess it feels super real. For me, this is like, okay, we're really locked in here in a box. So as I understand it here, when we are here, we use a tiny part of our mind. And that is what creates the walls of this so-called physical reality. But as soon as you expand this, you will not perceive reality as this. And when actually this ascension then happens, what's going to happen is that you actually break free from this. So a lot of people say, well, is this world going to be destroyed? And I was like, you're not listening. This world is not real. It's an illusion based on the part of the mind that you're using right now to perceive things. And it's like, are people going to die? And I said, no one is ever dying. Sorry, no one is ever dying. I mean, guess that's there exists no such thing. So when you dream, you're actually going outside the limitations of your conscious mind. So if you ever feel like, wow, it feels really real when I'm out dreaming, yeah, it does. And then you move back into here and you can't even like remember what was happening out here because you're here in your conscious state. And there is a lot of other factors why you are in an illusionary world here. Because the only thing that really is real here, if you want to focus on anything that is real, is your relationships to one another and love. That's the only thing that is real. Rest is just your props or requisita for you to learn about yourself. So what I notice a lot of humans are doing is that they are not understanding the basics of creation, which means that when you create, you have to live in the now. That's what people always say, oh, the spiritual world is about living in the now and being integrated. Yeah, that's true. But when you are here, you have a possibility to live outside of reality because you have linear time, which is a very strange phenomena. It means, for example, you can say things like, oh, I'm going to be a better person in 6 months. Or, well, that was something that happened 1 year ago. Or that happened in Portugal. And all these things complicates it because it means you're not integrated. You have an idea of splitting yourself in space and time, but that's not how it works in other places. You do all and everything now. It exists now. You can't tell a lie, for example. It's transparent. Here, you can go on in the outer world and you can lie to people and say, oh, I got away with it. And then you have your consciousness who says, no, I don't feel good about this, but why should I feel bad about it? No one knows what I've done and I'm getting away with it. No, you never get away with it because it only exists the now. And as long as you misuse the possibility of throwing things in time and space, you're never going to wake up from this illusion. So a lot of people, they go outside themselves and they try to understand the world outside of you. It's not possible to understand the world outside of you because you're not perceiving the world. You're only perceiving the world you're making up. So when you look now in space, you're going to see a black space, and you're going to see maybe some planets in the distance when you look at them, but you're not seeing anything. And it's not possible to see anything from this view. But if you go inside, if you start to get to know yourself and you're reconnecting, you're actually reconnecting to the rest of your mind and you can perceive the reality in a different way. And when it comes to who is messing with humanity, is there a saboteur out there? Well, life actually doesn't function like that. Life upholds everything. So if you ever think about, like, if a monster comes running into your room, guess what? This monster is going to have a body of some sort, right? Do you know how a body is composed? It's going to be millions of cells who's going to be in perfect harmony with each other, because otherwise no life form could exist. You couldn't think a thought, unless there were millions of cells who were actually cooperating and making it able for you to express yourself. So life is never threatened by anyone. Life is giving everyone a chance. And guess what? None of you can die. Nothing ever dies. Like even what you would call your arch enemy, guess what? You met them again and again and again, as long as you're in that specific learning cycle. Life is never under threat. And all of this is just for people to wake up. So where you are right now, this is just a classroom. The only people who ever come here is basically to learn people. You have to get to know yourself again, have to wake up. Don't fall for everything on the outside. The ego is going to distract you with so many, oh, this thing is so interesting. This thing is so interesting. And have you noticed how it never leads anywhere? How it doesn't fulfill you, make you happy? Ever wondered that? Ever question yourself, this is very interesting, but does it make me happy? That should be a clue. And when some people say that, I'm amazed by it because they can study the dark agendas so much. And I said, well, why do you go looking for answers in the dark? That's like a joke up there. In darkness, there is no knowledge. Darkness stands for lack of knowledge. Where you enlighten, where you put light on, that is knowledge. If people spend half as much time as they were spending reading up on dark agendas, if they spend half as much as time understanding themselves, studying light, they would already have the answers. So it's fascinating. So what you want to do is to stop being separated from yourself. Because when you're separated from yourself, you can never have answers. What you need to do is to reconcile with life and reconcile with yourself. If you look out in nature, do you see any agendas there? Do you see any secrets? Usually when I talk in front of people, I ask them, why do you have so many secrets, each one of you? Who are you keeping these secrets for? I'm amazed by that. Humans are the only one who's keeping secrets. Interesting. I always make this comparison with broken glass because this is how I see it. If you have a perfect, like only like a window with one piece, when everything is in harmony with each other, you already have all the answers. You comprehend the totality. But if you break the glass, you're going to experience yourself as every tiny shattered piece of the glass, and you're never going to remember or comprehend that you are actually the totality of it. It's going to be too complex and weird. You're going to feel alienated, fragmented. You're going to end up in conflict with the other pieces, completely forgetting they are all you. And you're going to have conflict in your life. And guess what? You don't have conflict when you are in harmony. Actually, in order even to be attacked by anything, you have had to initiate that attack in one way or another. Because harmony is just harmony. If you bring in discord into harmony, it's no longer harmony and you have a complete other state. So what you're going to find in this separated life is things like war, anxiety, and now I'm trying to read these things I've written here and I only see you guys, but never mind. You're going to see things like separation, loneliness, doubt, feeling lost, all of these feelings when you would call negative feelings or negative states. So there is no discord within harmony. So when you feel like the outer world is trying to get you, it's just your projection of the ego, but it's going to feel really, really real. I know that. But every time that happens, no one can ever violate you unless you agrees with that. What I mean by that is that you agree to leave your own inner state of mind, so to speak. So if anyone actually managed to scare you or make you feel guilty or any of these negative states, if they manage to do anything of that to you and you believe it, you are separated from yourself. So if you look at the news, they're never gonna say to people, calm down everyone, be in harmony, just hug each other now and love each other and be happy. Think about your own happiness. Don't look at negative stuff. Do something that makes you happy and live. Can you imagine the news saying that? No. The outside will represent this ego. It will try to tear you apart from yourself, from your family, from happiness. They're gonna make you tired and take your energy. You're gonna do all of this stuff. But you have to go in the opposite direction. That's the trick. It's vital that humanity returns to harmony. And as soon as it does, well, this job is over. And I'm immediately going to jump into some laws of physics. I can't mention everything about everything, so I'm just mentioning bits and pieces about everything. But I know that you guys are interested in this, so I will say some words about it. For example, time. Time does not work as you may think it does. And even if we say things like linear time doesn't exist, it's not like that, up from there, we don't view it as linear time, it's not how we operate. And then people say, yeah, but when did you come down here? Was it before that or after that? And you just kind of give up in the reasoning. But the whole reason why people are in the state they are, why humanity is in the state they are, I talk about this more extensively in my videos on the original relationship. Once people were united with themselves, I guess you call it a trinity. And then the fall happened. The fall would have happened either way, in my opinion, because of the way humans were created. And I'm not going to go in details about that now. I guess that's another topic that probably would be very interesting to listen to. But if I just say some things about it, I guess there will be 1,000 more questions on it. But let's just say that it would have happened either way. So humanity ends up in a dualistic state. And in a certain way, this always happens because if you want to develop, well, you have a harmonic state. And harmonic state is an integrated state. You don't have any specific free will. It just exists plainly as it is in harmony with itself. And then you have the sort of chaotic state. It's opposite, the darkness. And some people, they get caught in this idea about Star Wars. There's light against darkness, and there's the force of good and evil. So with that reasoning, well, you can just be good. You can stay good for all eternity and you would be fine, yes? Life is not about the harmonic state of light or the chaotic darkness. Life is about the third principle, you. And that is all of us. We go from a harmonic state. When we want to develop, we expose ourselves for that which we don't know yet, represented by darkness. We jump down into the chaotic state of darkness. We are given an ego, and an ego is your ability to judge. With an ego, you can choose good or bad. How do you feel? How do you feel about this? Do you like it or you don't like it? And you experience and you experience and you experience until you figure it out. And within this process, two things can happen. Either you remember that you jumped down here and you just remember that you want to do something good. So you do positive things. You take on challenges. You follow your life goals. You challenge yourself and you grow just like the hero in any adventure. Or you forget yourself. And when you forget yourself, you get lost in the darkness, so to speak. You don't understand why you should struggle. You hate the struggles. You don't understand that the struggles are there for you to develop. If you weren't challenged, you wouldn't grow. Nothing would happen with your development, and you wouldn't experience life, because life is development. So when you figure out this, when you end up here and you figure out this, you work through all of this, and you develop, and you end up in a higher harmony state. So the magic of life is the third principle. The conscious you that is alive and is always living and is always developing yourself. So, but here you are in a dualistic place where you have a conscious and a subconscious.
She said she'll be back. Yeah. Well, anyway,
problem. Basically, for our guests that are in listening to the presentation today, if you would please write your questions down in chat, then our moderators can refer them to Susann. So we'll take this moment to say hi to all of you and get your questions up, because you should be gearing up some really good questions. We'd like to hear them.
Thank you, Fresh Bro. That is so good. Yeah, if you could please write your questions, we will take it up. Pontus will.
I'd more like to just have a chat with Susan and I.
Is that you, Patty? Hi, sis. Is that you?
I said I would like to rather just have a chat with Susan and I. sometime on the side.
I know. Yeah. Well, you can just call me and I'll put you on to her anytime you're free. Yeah.
Yeah, because she and I seem to, well, she knows pretty
Mhm.
close to most of the stuff I try to teach people,
Yeah, no, she's like
or trick them into doing what you want
yeah.
them to do by facts about how this whole game down here is put together, which causes them in the end to go looking into themselves, which is sort of a way of tricking them into doing what she wants them to do.
Just like a fresh breeze of fresh air here, you know, when we're going through so much of the pantomime nonsense. And here we are. She's reminding us of who we truly are. So, Susann, is she coming back, Pontus, you think?
Yes, I think so.
It's just a shame that
I think there was a
because of
fire
the
alarm.
search for knowledge gets them hooked into the technology, which lets people forget.
Yeah, too much of
Yeah.
technology is not good for a sovereign, integral souls like us, who we truly are. Yeah, human, Homo sapiens sapiens, arise. As Sasha Stone would say, arise, Homo sapiens sapiens. All right.
But I think people like her a lot of times make the one mistake that a lot of times down here on Earth,
Mhm.
there are brand spanking new souls, never have been ascended, who don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, you're
So
back.
this is the
effect
situation.
about her.
To make a long story short, because I'm actually on vacation, so I'm actually in a cabin in the woods. So to just do this interview, I had to go into like a work office space that I could rent from someone, and they warned me about an alarm that would go off.
Oh,
Luckily, I had my boyfriend with me who was supposed to disable this alarm, but we couldn't really figure out how to do it because it was very weird instructions.
so we got to rush along now because we are concerned about you being kicked out by midnight, like Cinderella.
Okay, I will just proceed. I mean, in case the guards show up, they can just join the meeting or something. I don't know. So, yeah, where was I? We are in a dualistic state here. So you're gonna experience things like conscious and subconscious, being awake, being asleep, day, night, light, darkness, life, death, and inner world in an outer world. And as I said, in an integrated reality, you don't have like I go inside and then I go outside, but everything you think and you do happens simultaneously. So some weird stuff about time then. Time is not moving forward. That sounded depressive, but time is not moving forward in that you're actually going back to where it all began. Because how you ended up here, of all places, actually started with the event, with the fall. And when the fall happened, you ended up in a sort of shock about what actually took place in the fall. And what happened was you became self-conscious. When you became self-conscious, you dissociated with your integrated part, namely the God or the you self. And then I explained this vividly and very detailed in the original relationship story. But enough to say right now is that you felt a lot of guilt with this event. So you blocked it. You blocked it from memory like it never happened. But when you blocked it, you also blocked all the knowledge about yourself. So what actually happens is that you ended up, well, imagine Stone Age or something like that. Because that what happens if you block everything about yourself, there's nothing left. And when you disconnect from your God source, you lose knowledge, you lose everything. You lose the feeling of love and connection that you always felt, the thing that makes you aware of that, how you connected with everything. You're going to feel separated and alone and naked and alone without any knowledge. And you don't like this state very much. So what happens is that you want to get back to paradise, get back to your former self again. So you start this slow pace towards home, which you're actually approaching now. It's not many years left. You're starting to approach home. And the more you come home, you walk towards home, the more difficult it's going to get. You're going to get more and more knowledge, and you're going to try to figure it out, but you're also going to feel more and more guilt and problems. So eventually people create religions. And religions, what are they? Apart from maps showing the way back to God, right? Religions, like a map, I do this and this and this. I behave well and all of that, I can reach back to God. People were actively looking for a way to return home, back to themselves. And they were making it extremely complicated, I would say, because if you like, you can just reconnect back. But then it came the issue with the guilt. So people are actually suppressing it. A lot of people will feel like, yeah, I want to return to God, but not yet. Like you have this, you're struggling with your own consciousness. Why? Well, there comes this other part of you who actively don't want to act good, don't want to join back and live in harmony again, but is feeling still a fear from this state. So you're working against yourself, struggling ever onwards. And in religion, you're going to see all these weird expressions, weird feelings about a woman, for example. Either she is this innocent angel or she is the devil herself. And this is all from your own guilt, because before you were enlightened, you were giving yourself love, you were acknowledging yourself, loving yourself for who you are, and you allowed yourself to grow and live like who you are. And then you're starting to actually lie to yourself. And this is where you start to chase after ego stuff, as we call it, which are not good or positive for you, and you have this internal struggle with yourself. So what is happening now is that humans are approaching when all of this started. So here in the center are all the answers, but also all the pain. And that's what you're seeing now. So either way, we would have turned into a global world. We would face a global crisis. None of that was happening now is any coincidence. And there would have been a global threat, no matter what form it would have taken. A virus is genius, because the ego will have its own expression now, collective expression. And the result will be the same. I will not go into harmony. I will not go into peace and happiness. I will not go into these feelings. That is what the ego, the role the ego will be playing. And the other part of you wants to say, yes, I want to go into peace. I want to go into love and harmony. When I was in the military, I hanged out with a lot of people there from the UN was there, the humanitarian organizations, ambassadors, everyone, because it was like an international education center where I was. And it was a funny thing, because no one was ever trying to create peace. That was the standing joke there. No one was ever trying to create peace. So every time there was these big meetings of any sort, people were only discussing how their individual rule systems made it impossible for them to cooperate with the other groups, which of course is ridiculous, because you were supposed to have a joint goal of helping humanity, but that was never the case. And guess what? There was never any peace on earth. So you have these big organizations, you're going to have UN, you're going to have all this, and you're never going to see any peace on earth, because no one is working for that, because it's ego driven. And all they really want to do is to create separation. So if you wonder, why is bureaucracy as it is? Why is anything like it is? Because they're actively trying to avoid peace. It's so ridiculous, but once you see it, it's so clear. I mean, there were bizarre situations where the military was going to save some people on the other side of a bridge, but they couldn't cross the bridge. Not because there was anything wrong with the bridge, but because the costumes they wear and what they represented and the different rules from different military from different countries. And I was like, oh my God, I have a solution. Just remove the clothes. And they were thinking about it a while, and they said, yes, that could actually work. And I was thinking, like, what the hell are we doing here? These are man-made problems. These are not real problems, don't you see? No one is trying to create peace. And there was so much corruption there, with people giving provisions to different groups, weapons to different groups. No one was trying to create peace. They were trying to prolong it, to prolong the war and conflict. And once you see this, you understand there is no great master plan. Like the head of UN people that I met, they were like only talking about control. And I said, I don't hear you speaking about this in the news. What is all this coming from? They said, we have to control. You understand that? No, I don't understand that. Explain it to me, because it doesn't make sense. And it is not sensical. The ego will only try to go towards separation. And once you see that pattern, it's going to be very clear. So, and to jump into another maybe interesting topic, about quantum physics and the measurement problem, because every once in a while I see these unsolvable problems, but they are not that difficult at all. So what happens here is the reality you perceive is always in a relationship to yourself. And I mean, humans can adore super smart computers, but sometimes they don't give that much credit to life and how life works. Reality is always changing in relationship to yourself. So if you change one piece of something, all the other pieces immediately turns in relationship to that piece. So you can't study reality without, I don't know, without being dead, I was going to say, but if you are something live and breathing, you are a part of that equation. So if you look at something, immediately all the parts going to change in accordance towards that part. So you can never freeze time because you are within it. So that is something I find very strange, because scientists, they keep insisting on being objectively and being outside of life. Well, how do you figure that, smart as you are alive and you have a brain? So how are you going to be outside of life? Very strange. So because it takes place immediately and simultaneously, no one ever understands that anything has ever changed. People don't understand. You change your reality every second, but you don't even notice. So like time now is going so much faster than what it did 100 years ago, but no one is noticing it because the day is always in relationship to night. And people just see this, well, the same relationship going on. So they can't perceive that anything changed within this reality because you can't perceive it. So yeah, this is the slide with the time example, which I already explained. So the only way for you to notice a change in your reality is to view your life as a whole, because you have to comprehend that all the pieces now is changed in relationship to one another. So if you ever made like a change in your life, you're gonna notice that many other parts in your life mysteriously changed as well. Something has changed in how you relate to other people, or how you view life, or how you generally feel. So take notice on that. That is the clue you have that something has changed. And yes, you can never place yourself outside of life. A comparison would be with an alphabet or a mathematics. So the alphabet and mathematics, numbers and stuff, they exist within life. Outside of life, they only exist as a theory. But it's not reality you're studying if you're only studying the alphabet or mathematics. So, well, this is also like a repetition. You have to consider that you are using your mind. So when you observe something, reality is already relating, so it fits you. You can't see something that you can't see, so to speak. So let's end with some laws concerning technology. I'm just gonna pile up your questions to me after all this. So what about free energy? Well, the thing is with free energy and with all technology is that it has to be in relationship to the being who are using it. So right now we have a problem here with infinite energy on Earth, because humans believe they are finite. They believe they die. But humans don't die. You have a body that requires food as an energy source, but that is not your energy source, because you are the consciousness and you need another energy source, which means that I can't lock you in a wardrobe and just give you food and you're going to be happy. That would be the case if you were only your body, right? But you need other stuff in your life to be happy, meaningful relationships, a purpose with your life. You have energy from another source. You're not your body. But the problem is you still perceive yourself as the body. So now we have a problem. If you are finite, so to speak, you are deadly. You can only use that kind of energy. You're not allowed to use any other kind of energy. But when humans wake up from their state of duality, which places them in day, night, awake, asleep, life, death, they become immortal and infinite. And the infinite being understands infinite energy and can make use of it. And another big question, time travel. Can we time travel and travel through dimensions? Well, then we have the problem again. You only use this part of your mind, which means you can only travel within this part of your mind. And you are doing that with cars and planes and stuff. But if you want to like travel outside of that, you have to develop and change your mind so you can actually reach all these other areas. That's how it works. And also to have access to human DNA and understanding the human body, which humans don't understand. And that can't happen before you are in harmony with life. And all these rules, they do have an important role, because what would be the purpose to have this understanding and knowledge if you're not ready for it? You would cause destruction. And that's also what we're seeing today with some violations of this law. Like nanotechnology can enter the human body, and certain chemicals can also enter the human body that change the human DNA, and that is not allowed. I have one memory of a planet that we had to do an intervention in, where the beings there had been compromised. There were this small particle technology that had entered the DNA and actually starting to change it and destroy it. So we had to rescue the people that had intact DNA that were not compromised. And when I came to this place, it was very interesting, because the people there, they believed that they had like their government, so to speak, were consisted of beings similar as them. But when I reached there were no life forms at all. There were just numbers, ones and zeros. It was only computerized AI. And it was like a big ship of glass that was like the main computer ship that was driving everything. It was almost mechanic. So we went in and destroyed it. So it can't be allowed to happen. And so this technology would not be in the hands of humans. If normal people just live their lives normally, they would not be able to compromise their DNA, right? How could you, sitting there at home, destroy your DNA? You can't. You would have to have some technology, and you would not have invented it yourself. And there actually also exist people here who can time travel and use infinite energy. But that is kept away from the huge bulk of humanity for now. It will soon be time for all of these things too, because people are waking up. And I'm going to end with some words about what is actually going to happen in the world now, because this is actually the final steps. I actually thought it would be over last year. So for me, we are running on overtime now, but it's not an exact time plan we are following, as much as a distance to how fast this process we're looking at outside will take place. So 2020 that you just experienced was actually the big retreat year. It was a year when everyone had a chance to stop their lives and actually start to think away the so-called reality and starting to focus on the real reality, which is yourself. And there's not so much time left now. So now it's high time to start waking up for real. So you got time the last year to actually focus on yourself and what is important to you. Because now in 2021, this is a really, really important year. This is the year where you have to show your true colors. This is the year you will actually be tested. You can't stay neutral. So some people say that, oh, I will just wait out what is happening in the world. Eventually it will get better and I can get back to my normal life. No, that's not going to happen. What happens is that outside is actually going to be pushing even harder. And you're going to have to choose if you want to agree with it or if you want to stand for your own truth. Because there are a lot of like freedom fighters and people doing revolution and stuff. We're not doing revolution because we want to change the outer world. We are doing revolution because we want to claim ourselves. We want to be free ourselves. We want to have the freedom to express ourselves just the way we are. That's the only reason. We don't have to go and change the outer world to do that. We can start just being ourselves now and we'll see where it leads. And yeah, that will lead to great consequences on the outside. I have a lot of friends now who are quitting their jobs when their jobs say, you have to take this vaccine, you have to do this. If you don't want to do it, say no. There will be consequences, yeah. People died for their beliefs back in the days. You won't come to this right now, but you will be tested. Just stand up and show what you stand for. Be yourself, no matter what. Because if you're not yourself, you're going to lose yourself. If you're going to stay in a place and just do what people are telling you to do and say, okay, I don't have a choice, You're losing your choice. You're losing yourself, but you have a choice. And that is why it's so painful, because you know you have a choice. And this year is going to be all about that. It's going to be a lot of crossroads in this year to come, where you will have to show your true self. They're going to be tests, basically, when you're going to have a choice to either affirm yourself or deny yourself. So better choose wisely. So the test will be more severe the closer we come to the end of this cycle. That's why they are so challenging now. I mean, before you didn't have to go through these tests or these extreme choices, not as extreme as they will seem right now. It might even come to you having to lose your material life wealth standard. But guess what? This place is still an illusion, and there's not so much time left anyways. So don't sit and wait for the outer society to be better, or more than anything else, don't rely on anyone on the outside to save you, because this is part of the test. It will actually do the opposite. If you try to just rely on someone on the outside to save you, they're gonna break apart. That thing, whatever it is you're having your hopes for, is gonna break apart. I saw some people following Trump, and you have to be the hope. You can't place that on one man. He's just a man, just like you are a man or a woman. This is about you. This is about you. So whoever it is you're following on the outside, in the end now, you're gonna have to prove for yourself what you believe in. You have to be the savior of the world. Because otherwise, what would be the purpose of all of this? So sometimes you're gonna notice when you made a promise to yourself. You made a promise to yourself like, I'm never gonna be angry again or something like that. Or now I have this high state of love so I can overcome any physical illness. And you actually managed to do it one time and you're so happy. Yes, I did it. I know I can do this. But you still have a bit of like fear left because you're not completely sure. You're just happy that you made it. Then the test is gonna reappear to see if you are really sure. And this is what's going to happen. You're not going to get away by someone else fixing it or someone else saving you. When apocalypse ending everything so you don't have to make a decision. No, this time you actually will have to make a decision about who you are. So, because in 2022, you're going to experience what we call instant manifestation. And that time is almost catching up with itself. And everything is going to happen extremely fast. And as some spoiler alerts, in 2023, you're actually gonna see the dawn of some of these new technologies that humans will be able to use, because there's gonna be a sufficient amount of people waking up who's gonna live together in groups, and they're actually gonna be able to start bringing this new technology forth. And we're gonna see the first steps of the new Earth that will start taking place once the old is gone, once light is separated from darkness. So that ends my presentation now. I don't know how long I've talked because luckily you don't see any clock here, and we had the alarm disrupting us, so I don't know anything. So now I'm gonna see what buttons I should push. Stop share, perhaps?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you
And we're
so
back.
much, Susann. Wow. I mean, you were like, there's a saying that goes, don't curse the dark. Bring the light yourself, light a candle instead. And you did that. And you are the one who brings the light to all this darkness, this confusion, this fear, this war that separates everything, everyone, and the mask wearing and the social distancing and all that mayhem. And here you are reminding us how awesomely powerful we are, each and every one of us, sons and daughters of God, standing tall in our sovereign integral self, bringing the light and going within and lighting the light from within. Thank you, Susann. You are superb. And thank you for covering all those that we had discussed together and the questions that I've been asking you. You covered everything. Wow. I mean, I did say, what do you see forward the next few years? And you covered that as well. Thank you. You are
The war on consciousness.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then And then the technology, and then you are reminding all of us, we don't really need technology. The technology is within us. We are the spiritual technologies ourselves within us. Thank you, Susann. Now over to you, Pontus, the co-chair, for the questions. Yeah.
Thank you. We have one question here. What do you mean with mean there is not enough time? Time to wake up? What will stop that process?
What will stop the process that we are in now?
Yeah.
Well, now everyone will be pushed to be waking up. That's why it's like this is a global initiation. So this is taking place for everyone. So a lot of you are going to feel right now that like you can't go on vacation somewhere now. You can't just take a week off and just forget about what's going on. You're going to feel a certain pressure that is taking place now. And no matter where you turn, you're going to keep feeling this pressure going on. And that's how it feels at the end of a cycle, because you actually pushed towards this to release yourself. So now it's going to be so absurd on the outside that either you're just going to eventually say, no, thanks. Mm-hmm. And most of you are going to say, no, thanks. Now it's going to be too far. We can't touch the ground because it's going to be COVID on the ground. I don't know. And the other people, they're going to feel so afraid and so put down of this that they're not going to emerge with the light, but they're going to go asleep into the darkness. Mm-hmm. So therefore, it's actually pushing you. So if you think that, will I have time to wake up? Yes, because it will be simultaneously, because you will face the test. You will face the test. So you will actually then be presented with a choice to either deny yourself and go into sleep, or actually affirm yourself. And I guess most people who are watching this, I don't think you will go back to listening to the news and thinking, no. Oh, you're really reasonable today. I didn't hear that yesterday. Now this sounds reasonable. No, you're going to see that, oh my God, what are they doing? And if you notice how news are repeating itself, do we have any new news today? No, repetition. Because the ego doesn't have any power to create. Create is also something that belongs to the light. So you're just going to feel like fear, paranoia, more separation manifested in the physical separation now. It's actually kind of funny once you learn to see how it works.
Oh, yes. Susann, how many missions do you remember that you have gone through? Oh.
I couldn't possibly even begin talking about that. I mean, I don't try to recall everything at once because my brain here would be overloaded. It's more like as soon as I try to recall something or I need some specific information, then a certain memory comes up. But I feel like I sort of like compartmentalize these information so I don't get overloaded. Sometimes I get into a life and I start thinking about the whole life and it's like, oh my God, get back to here. Because here you can only think about one thing at a time. And it needs to be open for so much else here. So sometimes it's just a screen for me, or I see it like 360 degrees, everything on my experiences, but I don't see actual pictures then. I just keep it like small little like facets, like it would be like a big gem or something. And I can just know, okay, in that direction, it was this and this and this. So I get the bigger picture of it. I have some memories that are very dear to me that I keep. And I get the linear memories from this place I also keep. So I just keep a lot of memories. And it's the same when someone say, where do you come from? And what is your specific home up there? I mean, the universe is so big, so extremely big. And even some places that I have dear to me, they can be very new, but I have memories before that and places before that. And some beings are so old that they wouldn't even comprehend like what we're doing. They're very, very much above it. So life is so vast. It's enormous. And it never stops. And it doesn't work to think about it in linear time either. Sometimes I think about it in distance and how I feel towards something and how that feeling feels. But I mean, I can always share some memories from some lives here and there, but I wouldn't know where to start.
Let's see. Will we go for sure for absolute darkness now before it turns?
Yeah. So we can just celebrate that it's going very quickly now.
Yeah.
So they won't suddenly start to act creatively or to talk about happy things or new things. What you're going to see is that they're not going to bring up anything new. That's a big one. They're never going to present you with something new. They're just going to repeat and chew old things. And you're going to see robot and technology and things that just makes you feel like dying. And because that's what they are doing, they're actually dying. They don't have the power. They're just gonna be like beggars eventually saying, please give us attention, give us attention. Will this not scare you? Will this not scare you? And then they're gonna like. So, I mean, just try to remain in yourself. The best way to fight it is not to try to demonstrate it head on. Just be the opposite of it, because what it is, it's anti-life. So if you just express the opposite, laughter, harmony, just ignore it. Don't go into that feeling. That's the best weapon, so to speak. Because they have nothing on that. They don't even comprehend it. I did the same within the military and stuff, and people had all these specific agendas, and I was just expressing my light, and they couldn't stop certain things. They couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't touch it because it's not the same resonance even. It was incomprehensible to them. And people who are within this, they don't understand. It was the same there when they said like, oh, Russian will attack. And I said, really? Does anyone here have any friends in Russia? Let's do this, because their idea was always to create these super troops, these special teams to go in and infiltrate for millions of dollars and stuff like that. And I said, let's do this. Let's take a field trip. Let's travel to Russia together. And we are going to go on the square and we're going to ask the populations of Russia, yeah, Olga, do you want to attack Sweden? Because I'm gonna dare you to find anyone in the whole country who will say, yes, I always dream of invading a country. Normal population of a country never say like that in case they have like Viking blood. No, people don't ever dream about it. Do you ever heard anyone you know talk about invading another country? No person would ever come up with that idea. And they say, well, maybe it's the military. No. The military is just hired guns. That's what they do for a living. Whatever it's suggested they do, they get money for it. They don't have any dreams of invading anyone. And all the military I spoke with from different countries, I asked them if they like to go out and shoot and kill people. No, of course not. The poor people who have done that, they had really psychological disturbances for doing that. They wanted just to help people, rescue people when a natural disaster taken place, where the humanitarians then said, well, why don't you work with us? Why are you military? And everyone got very confused. So who wants war? Is it the government who wants war? Is that why we're raising armies? That's an interesting question, because they are chosen by the people. So unless the population wants war, why do they have armies? Why are we doing war? And no one ever thinks about this, because they are just in this like, oh, it has to be in a certain way. It's pathetic. And when they study to go into these international works, they study peace and conflict, that is said. I read all this literature. There was not one single example of peace, only conflict. So like, how are you going to comprehend peace if everything you're reading on is conflict? This is very interesting. And you're only raising armies to create peace. It's hilarious. And once you understand this, you're not going to be afraid. You're just going to feel kind of sorry for them, because once you bring these examples, some people are just, what am I doing? And those who are really dark, they're going to be like, don't expose us. It's just, it's not a success story. That's all I'm saying. They don't have any great end plan, believe me.
Yes, I know that. Now a question: how do we avoid the survival instinct as we awaken, and the outside continues to become more difficult?
Yeah, this is where your acts of love comes into place, because of course you're going to be afraid now, because before your like very physical survival weren't challenged. Like back in the days, sure it was, but now everyone is so comfortable with all the luxury. But if you think about it, how long has Earth been like it is now? How long have we even have like these modern homes we have now? This is the new trap, right? This is the new trap. Because if we were living in the woods, this would not have been a trap. We would have just defended our village, right? If someone came and attacked us, if we were just living in the forest. Now this is our trap. We don't want to lose our modern house. But it might be that we will have to say goodbye to a lot of things, because you will have to choose. Do you choose your cozy sofa or do you choose yourself? Because guess what? You're not going to be able to keep your cozy sofa either way when this illusion disappears. So how can it be a test, a really good test, unless you will have to make tough choices? But this isn't about the physical reality. It's not about you having to sacrifice your body. It's not about that. It's only about if you are sure about who you are or not, if you're going to choose love or not. Like if someone attacked your kid, would you save your kid and just be courageous and just fight the monster? Yes, you would. You would find courage then. And this will be the same thing. You will know in the very instant when something happens what is the right thing for you to do and what would be the wrong thing for you to do, what would be affirming yourself and what would be denying yourself. So right now, just live the adventure, be the true you. This is the time.
Yeah, that's true. Another question we got here is, can we speed up the change somehow?
If we can speed it up, it's already going faster and faster. It's going like every year, time is going faster and faster and faster. So it's going proportionally faster. Like you have to notice that every week now, a lot of things happen. It's not like you can just take a week off. It's going extremely fast. So you don't have to do anything more. You just have to stay awake. Stay awake all this time. So no matter what they say on the outside, no matter what, if they try to make you feel guilt or fear, whatever it is, don't listen. Don't listen. Only listen to yourself. And remember, this is the time for you to leave your fear behind. So the test will be about you losing your ego structures. So whatever person it is you can't forgive, whatever is holding you back and keeping you a grip on the outer world, it's time to let go. It's time to deal with that. Be humble, deal with that. Forgive yourself. Get over it. Be yourself. You don't need any secrets. You don't need to keep up any walls. That was something you did back then when you were insecure, but you're not insecure anymore. You're actually waking up.
Yes. Press? Do you have any questions?
There's going along with some of the philosophy that you talked about today. We have the notion of the universe abhors a vacuum, and that we cannot make somebody do something, that we can only change within. And then the example comes when we are in a room, and if, let's say, Pontus and I are sitting in the same room, and I decide to stand up and walk away, the universe lets air come in immediately to fill in the space that I vacated. And so I could not have told the universe to fill my space with me standing in it, but I decided to move, and the whole universe, my whole world around me, had to adapt to that change. And this is kind of the message that you're bringing to everybody, is we change within, and the whole universe, everything around us, has to change instantaneously. That's how powerful we are as individuals and as a group of individuals.
Well
So I'm going to
said.
say thank you, and I'm going to turn the floor back over to Pontus and the
That was
rest.
a very good example. I never heard it expressed like that. Very good.
Yes. Well said. Right. Can I, Pontus, is
Yeah.
it okay if we invite some people from the floor to like unmute themselves and speak up? Who wants to speak up? Just unmute yourself and
If
speak.
that's, there is no self ultimately, as has been said. And I'm wondering what, as that no self that everybody's terrified of being nobody, going nowhere forever, that's actually what all the bliss and all the joy and all the freedom of spirit is, in that unidentified awakeness that is the witness and that is omnipresent and omnipotent and omniscient. So do you have any comments or insights?
Yeah, sure. Being awake, being conscious. Like when people are happy, they forget about a self, right? When they are happy, they just live. That's the closest to that question I would ever come. Because what people fear, people don't fear death. People actually fear separation. I remember a life when I consciously became acutely aware of it. I was in a battlefield. I was leading a group that was going to war in the morning, and I was trying to speak with my men. And there I realized I couldn't access any one of them. Everyone was gazing forward into the distance. And I couldn't get eye contact with anyone. They were just looking past, looking through. And I realized everyone was thinking, will I die tomorrow? And they were thinking about separation. And I realized that's what people are afraid of, being separated, because I just wanted them to be there. I wanted to talk with them the day before, and they weren't there. And I realized, yeah, people are afraid of being lost forever, separated forever. That's the greatest fear. That's why we experience what we experience on the outside right now. That's the anti-life, separation. Everyone go and get yourself locked into your wardrobe and don't see anyone, don't say hello to anyone. That's what we experience. That's why you're feeling this fear around you, because you're feeling that very energy of separation, which is a lie. Yeah, you're all connected. You're all connected. You don't even realize it. Like when you are at this place now, none of you are here at the same time, and you're not actually here same time as your body either. That's the funny part of it. So, and still, everyone is connected, and the only thing that is real is the relationship you have between each other and the love. And all the knowledge is there. This is just a play. So yeah, absolutely.
To that about the potential for global enlightenment, which is for us all to wake up together. It does seem as though we can popularize successfully the fact that there's only one of us, just like there's only one nature, one cosmos, one life force, one wholeness or unity, that we can actually successfully popularize that in the next 2 years and achieve global enlightenment. What do you feel about that, Susann?
Yeah, everyone who is growing more and more into yourself, growing more and more into life, into harmony, will start to feel it within. You start to feel it. Suddenly you are not this small person anymore. It's like the drop joining with the ocean. And the drop is afraid of losing itself, because when I join the ocean, I will no longer exist. But you don't think about that once you are the ocean. You think about everything you gained. And so, yes, I mean, when this process is over and people are waking up to light, all the barriers is going to fall down. Like when you were a kid and you came to Earth, you could play with anyone. You could still reach out. It was easy to get contact. But what happened when you grew up? Why is it so extremely hard for grown-ups to take contact with each other? And maybe now US is a better example. Sweden is horrible. You can't possibly say hello to someone you don't know. And where does this idea come from? Because right from the beginning, when you come here, you lock your doors, you separate from one another, and you feel guilt because you don't like that separation and you actually hate that separation, and still you do it. So that is what like creates this enormous distance. But as soon as you tear these walls down, you connect with each other. So when you are completely open here, there is no walls or barriers. Then you have it automatically, and you're never even gonna understand how you could ever have lost it.
From John, Susann, you say we moving on along a timeline towards a point where we will be able to manifest our thoughts instantly. Is this process developing slowly, step by step, or will it happen in a single leap forward?
No, as I explained, the process will take place. You can watch it every day. The outside will go darker and darker, and you will have to face your choices. So you are completely separated from the darkness and only stand in your own light. This process is most about you defining yourself, defining who you are, proving to yourself who you are. Like even a kid knows that they only feel enjoyment by proving to themselves that they can do it. I can walk myself. I can do this myself. Guess what? Grown-ups feel that too. And now you get a chance to do it. So all of these things will start happening simultaneously. 2022 will mean a faster manifestation. And therefore it's even more important to do the stuff you need to do in this year. Make your important choices this year, because the year after this one, everything you are and believe in will instantly manifest in a complete other way. So don't have your focus on all the cool stuff that will be happening on the outside. Don't have your focus on that. Just let it happen. Focus now on yourself to deal with what is going on right now.
Our question is, how long is this process for total darkness? More like a year or two or a decade?
It will not be long. Like I said, I thought it would be over last year with the approximate, and then you only calculated with how far it was from this distance and when the process would start and how long it would take. So like when I came here, the estimation was that it would have ended last year. So we're actually running on overtime now. So it will not be long because it's going so fast. And the best way for you to keep track on this, because no one knows exactly, is to just watch the outside. Because everyone will get a chance to choose side, so to speak. Not choose side, will you join the darkness or will you join the light? Just if you would choose yourself or not. The cycle will end at this place because it's connected to a lot of other stuff. So this cycle for now will end. And for those who fall asleep, those who can't be lifted this time, they will continue on another place and go through a cycle there where they can keep this process. They can keep choosing themselves again. And when they are through there, finally, they will join with the rest. So people who are afraid of losing their family, who might be asleep, just give it time and give it love. This is a process. We all get a chance to prove who we are, and we all get a chance to choose our time. So if it's not the right time this time, they will complete the cycle elsewhere. Don't be worried. You will see them again. But have a lot of love in this process. Don't see anyone as your enemy. Just give everyone love and time.
Susann, I have a question, Susann. Okay, so as the saying goes, evil exists when all good men does nothing. So how are we going to be like sit back and relax and have our popcorns and watch the pantomime and not do anything when all this mayhem is happening all around us? Like, for instance, I kept using this example. People are being vaccinated in the droves and dropping like flies. We can't just sit and watch, right? We have to do something. We can't just keep going on within and be quiet.
Well, you can never intervene in anyone else's choices. But you can inspire and lift people, but you can never intervene. Just like no one will ever force like the vaccine down on you. No one will ever physically force you. You will actually, this is just a test. So you will now be able to be tested to actually say no matter what it takes. And you're not going to sit down and eat popcorn. You have to be active. You have to stop the idea of sitting down watching TV. It's not how it works. You're a creator. Like you are the hero in a saga, don't you understand? Instead, people are ignoring life and they sit down and they watch this story about the hero. Guess what? The hero is you. And guess second what? When you watch the hero, why don't you just wish him to go on a retreat and a spa and have a nice time? No. You almost want to have the hero killed. One bad guy, let him have like 10 people with sword or 50 people with sword. You want him super challenged. And that is your life. You want that challenge because you want to grow. So you don't want to sit in the sofa eating popcorn, and you especially don't want to do it in this year. But you have to figure out how you're going to go through this year. You have to figure it out. And don't project it on the outside, how you're going to rescue other people. Think about how you're going to stand up for yourself, because you can't save someone who is sinking if you are sinking as well. If you are still fear-based and having fear, you can't go and offer your hand to the outside and expect them not to feel your fear and your resistance. Because then the only thing that's going to be calming you down is going to be a lot of more of these ego structures. Don't take the vaccine because I'm afraid of the vaccine. It's not about the vaccine. All of this could have been anything that they threatened. It could have been anything. It's not about that. You have to go there and say, I choose this happiness and freedom. Are you happy with your choice? And don't go and try to get your opinions in someone's face. What is it that you don't like about the outside? They are shoving their opinions on you. They are having this is my option for love. I will only love you if you do this and this. Don't do the same on the outside. Just be kind. Just be kind and loving to your people and friends on the outside. Don't come there with, you have to do this, or you will die. Don't do that. Just be kind. Show love. And then whatever happens, happens. But you can't do anything else than that. You can't act in panic. You can't go into that fear-based state.
Got a question?
Yeah, it's very late for Susann now.
Yeah, sometimes when I do hypnotic regressions on people, I try to figure out where the soul is located, and we're seeing some kind of Merkaba or some kind of ether DNA strand connected to some kind of connected to the crown chakra to some multi-dimensional level. I was just curious, is the aura considered, would that be where the soul would be located? Would it be located inside the heart chakra? Or is it like, is it this ether cord connected to our crown chakra or what? Do you have any idea how you could define that?
I never thought about it. Maybe that is strange, but I mean, all the different shapes and forms that life have. I never ever considered it. The only thing I know when I is in lives like this, the last thing I hear every time you lose your life here, it's a snap, and it's this silver cord. I always listen for the snap every time. Okay, now this what is about to go. I always listen for it, and then I continue. I never ever consider where something is located. I don't even know where I am located, so to speak. It's just a very vast system of relationships. I never really ever gave a thought to what is soul and what is connected to. And it's the same thing when you talk about what kind of who are you really. I couldn't define who I am. I could give some answers that are probably useful in the relationship I have to you guys now when I'm here. But I could never finally define myself because I know myself as many forms and in many state of beings. And it's the same with the soul. When soul goes into the monad, when it like the little self goes into the higher selves, and some parts of you are just there for one story and then it's gone. And everything that is left is the memories and the experiences that is shared. So I don't even want to go into the whole part about who are you, what is the soul, what is yourself. It's just I want to say everything in the end because you always have like a story. So when this story is over and the life you have right now is actually the end of a long row of lives that will end within this life and the ascension for now. And it will be like nothing of this ever happened. And what will be left are the memories, and they're like gems of wisdom. And then you go on and create a new and a new. So no, I don't know the specifics of everything that is connected to everything and how it mechanically looks. I actually don't know.
Good question, James. And brilliant answer. Right, I think it's midnight now where you are.
Yeah, it is.
Susann,
It's the 4th of February here now.
I was concerned about your boyfriend waiting for you outside. So
No, he's sleeping in a couch here.
Oh, right. So I think, Pontus, what do you think? Shall we wrap it up now? Because it's midnight, where
Yeah.
you are.
I think so. Any last questions?
James, have you got any last question? You've been so quiet for so long. I did ask you just now.
No, thank you, Susan. Appreciate it. You did a great job in your presentation. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah.
So okay, I think there being no other business, this meeting is now adjourned to the 86th FESIG meeting on the 3rd of March, where Dan Winter and John Fanuzzi will be speaking on the first session. And the second session, we will have Boris Dragin with Dr. Ludmila talking about regenerative medicine, which I think our sister Dana Lucia will be very interested, and you could bring your followers to this session next month. Okay. And thank you so much, Susann. And thank you, Pontus, for bringing Susann to FESIG to speak and co-chairing with me. Thanks, Press and
thank
James,
you.
and everyone who attended this meeting. Thank you very much indeed. Namaste. Bless your hearts.
Thank you so much, Susan, for being
Thank
here.
you.
Stop recording now.